Alrighty, everybody, welcome back. We're going to be wrapping up the free agency preview with our outfielders. Um, so let's get right into it. Really excited to do this free agency preview. Great free agency class this year, and just, a privilege to be able to review it and, give my opinions to you guys. Thanks for watching. So first off on our list, we have Chris Taylor. Again, he could be listed as, and a third baseman, second baseman, or a center fielder. It's kind of your opinion, but he played a lot of center field for the Dodgers. I decided to list him as an outfielder. And I have him at number 1 on this list just because of how clutch of a player he is and his utility availability. Again, that he had that awesome home run in the playoffs against the Cardinals. Was just a great all-around playoff player. This postseason. Dave Roberts has high remarks for him, loves Chris Taylor, and is definitely part of the reason why they re-signed him. Looked at his stats, he only had a 113 WRC plus, which is a little bit weird. I thought his offensive stats were definitely better than that. In 2020, he had a 130 WRC plus in the COVID year. But I thought that was kind of interesting. I thought his offensive stats were definitely better than that, and they weren't. Which, I don't know. I wouldn't say it's concerning, but I just thought he was a little better offensively than that. But I'm still going to have him at number 1 just because of how clutch of a player he is, how good of a hitter he is, and his defensive versatility. And I'm excited to for you guys to see all my rankings, because it's probably differs from a lot of people's, and regardless, I'm excited. So at number 2, I have Starlin Marte. So I didn't know Marte is 33 years old, which is kind of concerning. And I just didn't know he's that old. He seems kind of younger than that. And oh, by the way, Chris Taylor got a 4-year for $60 million deal with the Dodgers. He re-signed with them, in case anybody didn't know that. And Starling Marte, obviously coming from the Oakland A's, played pretty well for them, had some clutch walk-off homers, among other things. And the A's do not re-sign him, and instead he goes to the Mets, 4 years for $78 million. So good job by him getting a bag. Basically got $20 million a year for 4 years. Probably a little bit of an overpay for him, if I'm being honest, but he's a great hitter. One of the most underrated players in the league. So really happy to see him getting paid. He had a 134 WRC plus last year. That was his best year ever, except in 2014 with Pittsburgh. So really stepped up this year and had a great year all around. And again, he's one of the best center fielders, I'd say, defensively in the major league. So all around proved last year his versatility. I'm sorry, not his versatility, his defensive ability and his elite hitting ability. So really impressive season. That's why I have him at number 2. Number 3, I have Nick Castellanos. And, you could definitely argue I could have him at number 1. I probably should have him at number 1, to be honest. Thinking about it now. Castellanos is, what is his age? Believe he's 29. That makes sense. So he's 29, and he's reportedly looking for a 10 to 9 year deal, which makes sense. Again, he signed with the the Reds, and a deal, which he opted out after 2 years. And obviously last year, as you know, incredible season for him. Was an MVP candidate for most of the season, pretty much. Had a 30, had a that makes sense. He had a 136 OPS plus. I do not have his WRC plus in front of me, but just an outstanding offensive season. The one thing obviously for him is the defense. That's a big question mark. His arm isn't very good, and he's just not a great defender, which is cause for concern for a lot of teams. But regardless, I think he's a great hitter and has been consistent for, many years. In 2019, he had a 153 OPS plus. In 2020, he was average. I remember that, very average for the Reds. But last year, obviously MVP season. So 2 years, basically 2019 was the Cubs, and I think he was also on another team, Tigers maybe. And then this year he was just outstanding offensively. Um, so I think he's going to get a big deal from a team. I really could see the Phillies signing him. They have some money to do it, and they need another outfielder. Need to replace McCutcheon. They don't have a center fielder, if so, but regardless, he's a great hitter, a great bat for any lineup, and I think would fit in a lot of places. I had Giants, Phillies, and Rangers being interested. I think the question is how many years he's going to get, how many years he wants, what teams are willing to go for that. And I think, he's looking for a bag. I don't think he's too concerned with going to a winner, so I could see the Rangers getting him. At number 4, I have Mark Canna. Mark Canna is one of my favorite players in uh, in the MLB. So I think there was a great stat someone had. Um, I think it was on Fangraphs, and it talked about Mark Canna's WAR and how basically he's been just underpaid his whole career, and now he's still getting um, basically still getting underpaid in his nearest contract. He had a 115 WRC plus last year. Let's see. Okay, so 2020 this year he had a 115 WRC plus, 127 in the COVID year, 146 in 2019, 115 in 2018. So he's been great. Wow, I didn't know he was that good. 2019, Jesus. Yeah, that's insane. He had a 146 WRC plus in 2019. So first off, I want to get down. He's a good offensive player. He's clearly above average. I think can hit leadoff for a pretty good team. I don't think he'll hit leadoff for the Mets. And I think he's a pretty decent defender. But he's got power. He can get on base. He's a good offensive player. And he works the count a lot. He's just a good hitter if you watch him. If you watch him play. There are more stats I can come up with, but I'm just a big fan of him offensively, and I think his defense is fine. It's probably what held him back from getting more money, but 2 years for 26 million. I'm honestly surprised he didn't get a bigger deal. But good for him, and I hope he has success with the Mets. Number 5, I have Schwarber. So the reason I have Canna in front of him is one because I really like Mark Canna, but two, Canna's been a lot more consistent than Schwarber. Schwarber had a great year this year with the Red Sox and the Nationals. Surely broke out, played well in the playoffs, and I think he was decent in the regular season for the Sox. Obviously great for the Nats. And the problem with Schwarber is 2020 COVID year wasn't great. Wasn't great in 2019 either. So kind of a spotty track record in terms of consistency. I think he can replicate what he did last year or close to it. All I'd want from Schwarber is like 30 homers. And I think he can do that like pretty easily. I'm not really worried about that. Which is why I have him at 3 years for 60 million, which is a lot more than Canna, and one more year. Landing spots, I had Red Sox, Nats, Rangers, Phillies. I think the Red Sox will re-sign him if I had to guess, which I would love. But regardless, Schwarber's just an absolute beast. Had 40 plus homers last year. Was a beast in the playoffs. Would love to have him back in, DH in the American League. I think he lives for that, and I think the Red Sox see that, so would be really happy if we could get him back. At number 6, I have Avasyl Garcia for the Milwaukee Brewers, and he signed a 4-year, $53 million deal with the Marlins. I like Alistair Garcia. I think he's an above average outfielder. He had a great finish to 2020 this season. I think he finished September great. And really rounded out his numbers, got really close to 30 home runs. Let me pull up his stats real quick. And I don't know, it's kind of weird the Marlins signed him. they are in need of outfielders, but uh, I don't, like, so he hit 262 with 29 homers. Yeah, I was right. 117 OPS plus. Um, yeah, I really like the Marlins to sign Castellanos. I think that's a big match for them. Um, and I guess they needed an outfielder. And Garcia, that's 53 divided by 4. So they're paying him 13 and a half, 13 and a quarter million. I don't know. I like the deal a little bit. I guess just because they kind of need an outfielder. He's definitely not your centerpiece guy to build around. But if they get Castellanos, I think this is a great signing. Um, don't love the fact that he's a righty. I think they could use a lefty bat, but regardless, um, also not great defensively. But you know, uh, I like it for the Marlins. I like Garcia. I think he's just an above average outfielder. That's really all the opinions I have on him. And I hope he does well. Next up, we have Jorge Soler, number 7 on our list, the reigning World Series MVP. I had 3 years, 36 million for Soler, and I don't think he's going to get that contract. I saw that somewhere on Bleacher Report or Trade Rumors or something. Potential teams, I had Phillies, Marlins, Reds. I don't think the Braves will be bringing him back. Regardless, though, Jorge Soler rose to the next level. He hit for average and power, which is something he had not been able to do in his career really before this playoffs. And that's something that, if Jorge Soler can do that consistently, he will be one of the best players in the MLB. If he can hit 50 homers and hit 270, he's going to be an absolute monster. And that's the projected path he had in the playoffs. Regardless, again, I talked about in the trade deadline, I can't believe the Royals traded him. He's a guy who could hit 50 home runs every season, no big deal. He just has that kind of power. The question is how consistent can he be? He played well with the Braves when he, got traded there, but with the Royals before that, he was not very good, average-wise, and struck out a lot. Was below 200. I think I don't know what his WRC plus was, honestly. I think it was like around 100, and it was just because he was hitting all those homers. But kind of a, dead weight a little bit offensively. I'm just wondering about his consistency. That's all. Next year, hopefully he can prove he's consistent. But before that, he's not gonna. Before he does that, he's not gonna land a huge deal. But yeah, regardless, I think if he replicates what he did last year, he's gonna be a real successful player for sure. Next up, I have Seiya Suzuki from the KBL at number 8. I had his projected deal at 5 years for 50 million, and his landing spots were the Rangers, Mariners, and Giants. So here's the deal with Suzuki. He had a monster year in the KBL last year. I think he had more than 20 homers, or sorry, excuse me, 30 homers. And pretty much everyone is scouting him. Red Sox, I know, are big on him too. Again, I don't really know like what to come up with kind of or how to translate KBL stats to MLB stats. It's kind of hard. I remember Ha-Sung Kim had like I think it 20 homers at least, and for the Padres he just did nothing this year, power wise. So this guy's exciting. He's got a lot of hype, and he did really well in the KBL last year. So I'll take stock in that, and a lot of people are seriously considering him. I don't really have much to say on him. I haven't watched a ton of tape on him, but I've got him at number 8 just because of his interest and that the amount of money that teams are willing to put up for him. Number 9, I have Michael Conforto. I'm not a big Michael Conforto fan at all. He had an awful season this year. Was really good in the COVID year. And then the year before that, I think he was like decent. We can look at his fan graphs, but last year he was just absolutely miserable. And a lot of people banked on him to have a good season. So last season he had a 106 WRC plus. So that's a little bit better than I thought he was. Okay, so yeah, 2020 he was great. He had a 150 WRC plus. He was really, really good for the Mets that year. No denying. 2019, 127 WRC plus. Wow. 119, 147. Jeez. Okay. So I did underrate Michael Gamfordo a bit. This was his worst season in the last 5 years, 5 or 6 years, which is unfortunate for him because it's going to affect him contract wise. But I still think he's going to get, based on those numbers, probably 4 for 80, 4 for 80 million. He's a night. First off, he's nice to have in your lineup because he's a lefty bat. Yeah, my projected honestly would be 4 for 80 million. But again, I probably did him a disservice ranking him this low. It's probably not fair. Probably should have had him a little bit higher, but potential landing spots, I have Reds, Giants, and Marlins, and the Rockies. I don't know why I put the Rockies in there, but kind of some smaller market teams who are willing to take a chance on him besides for the Giants. And yeah, I think 3 for 60 or 4 for 80 would be accurate for him, and hopefully he can bounce back next year. But last season was awful for him, and it really hurt his contract status for sure. And he definitely won't be returning to the Mets. At number 10, I have Jock Peterson. I don't know who I'm leaving out here, but I definitely am leaving out someone. But got to include Jock in there. He had a great postseason. Was okay in the regular season. He, got better with the Braves when they traded for him. He improved their team a bit. I still think, it'd be great for us. It'd be smart for, like, first off, I think you should go to the Rockies. The Rockies, him in Coors Field would be so fun to watch, and he would hit so many home runs. I think it'd be so fun to watch. I think the Dodgers are also a good match because they could use a bench bat like him, to slide into their lineup, lefty bench bat. Marlins, I don't know why I put the Marlins, to be honest. I guess maybe because they need another lefty outfield bat, but they don't really have a center fielder. Yeah, I don't know why I put the Marlins. Then I guess chance to return to the Braves, is why I put them. And then the Nats, Nats or I don't know, maybe the Orioles, like just a team to take a chance on him, and hope he has a good season and then trade him for some prospects at the deadline. But regardless, Jacques is, he's also still like 30, so, definitely some upside there too. But regardless, would love to see him land with someone for 10 million. He deserves it after that great postseason. And I think it'd be definitely smart for a rebuilding team, to just sign him and then trade him at the hope he does well and trade him at the deadline. Regardless, thanks for watching, guys. Really appreciate it. Always love doing the free agency stuff, and I'll see you for NFL and NHL. See ya.